Well, you know what? We have a quorum, so I will start at exactly 7:30. The Alternative Energy Committee is officially in session. Good to see everybody, and we have a lot to go through, so we're just going to start pounding this out. I want to thank everybody for their hard work. We get so much done because of the committee members and others who participate, and they leave our meetings and they go off and follow those action items and go above and beyond. So thank you for everybody's hard work. We're looking forward to hearing from you on the updates, and we've got a jam-packed agenda. So why don't we start with approval of the meeting minutes from February 11th, 2021. Those have been sent out in advance, so hopefully everybody's had a chance to review them. Are there any changes or discussion about the meeting minutes?
Good to me.
I want to thank Debbie again for her great notes. Anybody else? All right, if there's no changes or discussion or concerns, I'd entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 11th, 2021.
Motion to approve, Pat Gooding.
That's from Pat. And is there a second?
Second, Adam Amon.
Nice, Adam. All right. Any discussion? Okay, then we will have to do roll call. So I'll just let everybody jump in. Tanya Bodell, aye.
Pat Gooding, aye.
Debbie Cook, aye.
Adam Amon, aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I think that's who's attendant. So unanimous for those who are in attendance. The meeting minutes are passed. Thank you very much. Okay, next up we have the Town Hall Committee update.
Hi,
You
all.
want to do an intro?
Yes, thank you. I just had to find that mute button. Thank you. I'm Phil Lear, Chairman of the Town Hall Building Committee, and thank you for having us tonight. We're looking forward to hearing your comments and what maybe you can help us with the energy concerns for the new Town Hall. Josiah is going to do a presentation for us. I have to leave at 8, so if this goes on long, if I disappear, that's where I've gone. But yeah, he'll do the presentation and then happy to entertain any questions after that.
Okay, so my name is Josiah Stevenson. I'm on the building committee for 2 designs now. I hope this is the last one. And before that, I was on your committee. So I hope I take some of the spirit of your committee to the Town Hall Building Committee. I'd like to, right now we're in, we finished schematic design, which means we have a design that everyone on the committee likes. It's been estimated. The estimate is something we like a little bit less, but what do you expect? And also the mechanical engineer has presented some options. He didn't present recommendations, nor did he ask us for a choice. So this is actually a really good time to talk to you and just show you where we are. And I'm sure many of you know more about the mechanical stuff than I do, and I work with it as an architect all the time. So can I share the screen and show you 2 slideshows? First is this architect slideshow, which is just a series of 3D images and the plans. And then I'm just going to scroll through the mechanical engineer's slideshow, which is a series of words and options of type of systems to use, and then whatever you want to discuss. So can you see my screen?
We can.
Yes.
You see that VPN connection problem? Do you see that?
No.
Oh, good, because it's bugging me. I'm sorry, 1 second. Okay, so this is the architect is Stuart Roberts. He does projects like this, like town libraries and town halls and things. And he was selected. I don't recall if it was unanimous, but we were very positive about him, and it's in a very good relationship. So we arrived at a design that looks like this. These are a series of 3D views that basically go from Highland Ave and then as if you're going around the building. But you obviously see the original 1856, is it? Town Hall on the left and the new addition on the right. It's similar in proportion and color and slope of roof, but it's definitely a building of our time, and it's a good neighbor to the historic town hall. This is all me talking. So as you go around, this is just going around. There's a handicapped entrance, right? You see on the left side here. Can you see my cursor? On the left side, this connection to Highland Ave allows you to go up a sloped walkway. It's not a ramp. If it's a ramp, it would need handrails, but it lets you in the front door of the original town hall, or you can go right and go into the new building. So it's fully accessible, pretty easily accessible. That is the side entrance, which will be the active entrance to the town hall. And the previous design had a main entrance off the front, but when you think about the houses and the buildings on the common, it's common to have, you know, a facade on the front and an entry in the side. So this is what this does. So I think it's interesting how it fits in with the spirit of the common. And
It's also very New England cultural aspect. There's a front door, but everybody comes in through the back.
right, exactly. Big house, little house, back house, barn. Okay, so this is the plan as we have arrived. The what's dark is new, what's light is existing. You can sort of see that. So you can see on the left, the original town hall is as is, except for this insertion at the entryway. That is a sound lock vestibule, a series of accessible toilets and storage for chairs. So I think that's separates, it's more like a workable theater even, or town meeting place by doing that. And then the main entrance to the side brings you in to a central piece here, which is, you can get into various departments. To the left is the clerk. To the right is the treasurer. And down here is the building department. And then you can keep on going straight through and into the original town hall. So that amount of circulation, that's pretty efficient. The one last time had dogleg corridors, and there was a lot of the gross square footage was in circulation and stuff. And to be cost effective, you want to minimize that. There's this stair here that brings you up to the second floor, and there's an elevator here that does the same. So this is the second floor. You come up these stairs, and again, you've got this sort of central node here that leads you to the DPW, the engineering, and the selectmen's meeting room, and the town manager, and the sort of the reception administration for him or her, and a meeting room. And then because the first floor of the original town hall is very tall, you actually have to go up extra steps. And this elevator here has a entrance from one side, then you go up, and then you get to the second floor level. That's what happens now, right, in the town hall. So, but to raise this whole thing just to be the same level would be just a lot of extra structure, and it's just not necessary. What you do pay for is an extra stop on the elevator. And then the second floor of the original town hall is like IT, assessors, HR, Cohasset 143 studios, etc. And then this is the basement. In New England, you can go down 4 feet by code, build a retaining wall and build your building, or you can go a couple of more feet, spend a little bit more money and have a basement. So that's what this is. And it's for files, storage, mechanical, etc. That would go elsewhere. And it seems like it always seems like a good idea. Just go a little bit further and we could use all that space. We also duck into the original building, and there's some changing rooms for the theater. This is a site plan. So that is the handicap approach that I was talking about. It's I don't even know how to get in this building now, actually. So this is pretty good, just sort of a seamless way in if you're handicapped. And then just a word on the intention and what we have in the estimate for our value insulation values. The thing about insulation is it pays for itself incredibly fast. It's not that expensive, and you save in heating almost immediately. So the addition column is to the right, and the wall. So R36 is pretty good. That is a continuous exterior rock wall outside of the studs, which is actually environmentally friendly. It's like spun melted rock. A lot of installations have some issues about off-gassing, et cetera. Rock wool is, relatively speaking, a good way to do this. And also in the cavity is blown in cellulose. Cellulose is spelled wrong, but so that's I think doing pretty good. The R40 is more code-like for the roof. It could be more. We can talk about that. And insofar as windows, we did talk a little bit about triple pane versus double glazed. The thing is, I've found that windows have most of their heat loss in the frame. So if you add another layer of glass, it helps a little bit, but not as much as the cost increase. So that's just something that, for example, I think a triple pane is like R6 or less. So anyway, there are also issues with the renovation because it's a historic building and we're getting historic money for it. So you can't exactly build onto the outside and add insulation, and the detail on the inside, you don't want to build out there. So you just want to blow in insulation. So that is why the R value shown in the walls is much less than the R value shown in the addition. And I think it would be very expensive to do otherwise. So that's that. If you have any questions, ask. Otherwise, I'm going to go to the mechanical. Okay. We switch here. Can you see this? Or
It's still the R values.
Oh,
I think you should undo your sharing and then share again.
okay, stop share.
They do that, so if you go onto Yahoo, nobody sees it.
Okay.
Which is
Okay.
a nice feature because I have been accidentally brought into somebody else's Yahoo search. Without them realizing.
Okay, this is more, I'm going to read some of this because I'm less, this was presented only recently to us. So anyway, oh, wait. Not advancing. Give me a second. Okay, so what the engineer did was give us some options. And as I said, he didn't propose anything and didn't ask us to choose. So this is something that's completely up in the air. Basically as a gas system, electric systems, and discussing of geothermal, which is like an added, can be added to anything really, any system. So the baseline is a chill beam induction with an outside air system. And it has some issues, but it's sort of standard stuff. Higher energy consumption. In the cons, there's just some things that I noted. Higher energy consumption due to increased fan and electric resistant heat energy. Energy consumption in summertime use of electric resistant heating is required for reheats of VAV boxes, etc. So that was the baseline, and he wasn't promoting that. Next one is a fan coil unit with DOAS heat. DOAS is dedicated outdoor air system. All I know is, all I hear these days is the future of heat is electric. from, from solar or whatever. And so these, option 2 is DOAS system with VRF, variable flow refrigerant, which let's see, it's efficient. It seems to be cost effective and efficient and electric and lower maintenance and stuff like that. There are some cons which you can read, and we could pass this on to you if you wish. I think you should look at it. And then finally, the interesting thing, oh, I'm sorry, yes, geothermal. So you can take any of those systems and have a geothermal heat sink, which I think you know about because we talked about when I was on your committee, which is basically drilling down. Basically use this as the heat sink for the systems. So it tempers the water and makes the system, the use of energy, a little more cost effective and efficient. So there are many people who support this. As an architect, I've used it on occasion, and the first one, had to be replaced. So I'm a little nervous about it, only because it seems to be slightly still developing, but everyone's, people seem to be behind it, and it seems to work in the long run these days. So that is it. This is an explanation of DOAS system. And I don't know if I should just pass this on to you because there's more to absorb, but that's about it for the options for the mechanical systems.
So, Josiah,
Yeah.
this is Pat speaking.
Hi, Pat.
Right, and I'm glad that you are here speaking to us because you and I have chatted about this, and I'm marginally involved in the Town Hall Building Committee meetings. And one of the things that I wanted us to explore here between the two committees was whether or not the work that we're engaged with, which Tanya can speak to more effectively, is procuring solar energy or renewable energy to be used overall by the town, so that I guess, assuming we went with an electrical option of some sort, it could be sourced through one of the ways that the solar RFP is pursuing right now. So the reason I wanted to explore it more was because, as I understand it, the geothermal, well, it's sunk cost, not to use a pun, but is it very expensive to install?
Yes.
And if we had a more, cost-effective method of providing the energy, I just wanted to have a discussion about that. I don't know if you want to speak to.
Yeah, I would say this. This is a hot topic, and there's lots of grant money, and we anticipate there will be more grant money from the Biden administration as they move forward. And we already know that there are potential grant opportunities in energy efficiency and renewables and electrification, and it's part of the governor's goals. So we are, and this is Michelle, most certainly, and Brianna have been doing a good job, and Pat researching, as well as other members of the committee, researching what money might be available for us. A no-brainer, I think, is if there's different costs for a natural gas system, which is still very, very cheap, versus these other systems. And we could then take it to the bank, if you would, write a grant proposal and ask for the incremental amount above and beyond what it would cost if we were to install a natural gas system. Natural gas prices are low. They're going to go lower as the Northeast moves to a net zero. So the economics make it very hard to support electrification versus natural gas because the boilers are so efficient as well. So to the extent we can look at what the upfront capital cost is or what the incremental cost is, and there are some numbers around that, it's just sort of, I don't want to say it's plug and chug, but Michelle is awesome at getting money from places, and we most certainly could position that in our proposals to try to get that incremental amount and tie it to resiliency and town hall, emergency response services and other. But Michelle, why don't you?
So in saying that, Tanya, we actually just signed an MOU with National Grid to have some technical assistance brought on board and work directly with our architect and mechanical engineers. And the purpose of that is the last presentation that you saw from Josiah was the R3, the R4 rating. Well, if we want to do something more or what we deem better, they'll kind of pay the incremental cost difference. So we have the MOU signed with them. They started working together, I think, just last week. So they're going to have some great ideas for us as well as cost savings as we move forward in this project.
Yeah, and Tanya, we haven't really talked about this that much. This is the first time I've heard about this presentation with Town Hall, but obviously because of the central location of Town Hall, there could be capabilities of building a lot of battery storage at the site or having a large scale distributed generator that's behind the meter that can support not only the Town Hall, but also some of the surrounding buildings or the surrounding downtown. Like you mentioned before, the resiliency aspect. Maybe if we're starting from scratch, there could be opportunities of maximizing that location to have some of that generation if the power does go out.
I totally agree. I mean, we're talking about downtown microgrid system. Something to think about. I suspect the anticipated location of a geothermal sink would be the common, and that would simply require some dig out and then replacement. I don't know where the ledge is on the common, how deep the ground goes, but I think it would be something worth exploring if we could, especially if we could get some exploratory money for that. But definitely something for us to think about whether this is a potential microgrid site, especially with all of the functions of the town now being housed in the town hall.
When you talk about incremental increase to pay for electrical, would that also be with geothermal?
I haven't seen the numbers, so geothermal could pay for itself because of the increased efficiency, but I just have to see how the proposal is scoped out and what it would mean. In which case, maybe what we ask for is a interest-free loan to pay for the upfront capital cost. So we don't have the incremental interest associated with the capital cost that ultimately gets paid back.
So can I just, Josiah, you may know this or the answer to this, but it seems to me there are septic systems in that common. So that's going to complicate things, I think. You know, like the church had their septic system put in there.
So I believe, Debbie, I'm not 100% positive, but that's definitely something we should look into. But I believe at this point in time, all of those areas in the downtown district are on town sewer. So
Okay.
I think their systems have been abandoned, but a good point, and we should definitely look into it. And
But
then
the geothermal is self-contained, so the water is in a pipe and it doesn't dump it into the ground. It stays in a pipe and circulates.
This is a question of what's it going to run into. Are you going to run into a ledge? Are you going to run into an old septic system? Are you going to run into an old oil tank? I don't know.
Yeah, because I would assume from a solar perspective that there's going to be a lot of pushback putting solar panels on the top of Town Hall, correct? So I think the most viable route would be to put a lot of battery storage or some backup generator capacity.
So can I ask a question about that? As far as the battery storage, how much space would we need to account for enough battery storage to kind of keep Town Hall running? Because I think when we talk about battery storage before, we were talking almost large trailers, if you will, for the batteries. And there's not a tremendous amount of space there. So I'm just wondering, do you have any idea what type of space you're looking at for that?
Is that directed toward me?
Anyone who can answer.
Well, we know power walls only take up 3x4 in a garage. Obviously, one power wall isn't going to do enough.
Right.
It depends on obviously the type of capacity you're trying to store and whether or not you're trying to peak shave or what the purpose of the storage is. Is it just for purely backup power that's storing for when the lights go out, or are you storing it for other reasons? And how long do you want to be able to export back into the grid with that storage as well?
Michelle, I don't think for the town hall's usage, it's going to be big, because just remembering, I haven't looked lately, but the town hall's usage is not a lot, even if you doubled it. So
Right.
we're talking about the equivalent of 5 homes, maybe, most certainly less than 10 homes. So I think we just have to size it properly. And part of it, as Adam said, is what's the purpose of the battery storage?
And the other thing is that I know there's been some fire safety concerns around the batteries. So a lot of times they've chosen to locate those outside of the base. So as we've seen in the microgrid presentations for the town, I think it was Steve Girardi's Hingham facility, they've got the big trailer truck, but it's an adjacent building or an adjacent structure that they're using. I don't know, Michelle, outside of, or Josiah, outside of the renovation that's being done in the building envelope that you just spoke about, are there any outbuildings that are being constructed or?
There is an outbuilding shown in the plan, which is sort of where the electric vehicles are parked right now.
Yeah. And there's no plan to renovate that building at this time, so it's going to remain kind of a storage area. If there's any renovation done to that building, at the present time, they're thinking of putting heating in there for the storage of the ambulance. That's all I've heard thus far. We've kicked around many ideas, but that seems to be the only thing that's kind of sticking at this point.
And are we going to maximize some of the electric charging opportunities in the parking lot, or no? Or are we just going to stick to the number of options that currently exist? Is that in the plan?
It's not in the plan. I think we can continue to look into that. But we have to make sure it's a benefit to the town. We're going to start having to pay for each charging station. And if you pull the monthly data, I understand COVID, it's a different time, but we're going to have to see what the trends are to make sure they're being used before we look into putting any more in. It's an easy thing to add. I just don't think we've committed to it yet.
Just back to the solar panel issue. I just remember back when I was on this committee, the historic committee said solar on the roof is town hall is dead on arrival. But looking at the orientation and the form of the building with all the cross gables and stuff, it seems like it wouldn't be very, it seems to me that it wouldn't be that effective being on the roof.
Because the roof is too flat, right?
It's too, like, angles going different directions, and
Yeah.
south is sort of at an angle. I don't know.
Yeah, my friends lived next door to the, well, 2 houses down for years, and they were only allowed to have solar on their garage, which was completely not visible from the common. So that was like the historical ruling on there. That was in the past, but I mean, the Historical Society is still looking for the same look, right? So just kind
I
of.
don't know. I saw some Tesla shingles, not panels, but shingles, and they look like shingles.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're really expensive, but they look pretty good.
There, I think that
It's 8 o'clock.
we don't need to worry about the solar. I mean, on these small buildings, it doesn't make sense. And if there's angled roofs, it doesn't make sense. And if there are trees around it, it doesn't make sense. And what we found from the RFP is for the smaller buildings, it really didn't make sense under current incentives. If there's, if we could figure out some combination of self-supply and battery, or battery for backup, battery for peak shaving that pays for itself, then I think that's something for us to think about. On the geothermal, again, there are some economies of scale, is my understanding. So if your sink is bigger than the town hall needs, there might be an option for residents to tap into that. And so that, I think it just comes down to the dollars. And if there's an incremental cost, whether or not people are willing to pay for it, or we can go to some type of grant opportunity to cover that incremental cost for the benefit of the homes around the common and the churches.
And then the other thing, I know we had the presentation about sustainability, what was it, 2 months ago? 1 month ago? I don't know, everything's now a blur. But obviously driving sustainability in the redesign would be great. And like something as simple as having an area for people to park bicycles. I know that's not probably part of the design of a new building, but incentivizing people to find other ways of not just driving their cars to town hall if they have to go, but rather than having people use bikes or walk, or just making it more convenient for other means. So I know that was a good presentation that we had about sustainability. I don't know if there's a way for us to tie it into this as well.
So Adam, that's a great point. And we've had several people ask us about bike racks and things of that nature to make it more user-friendly. So I believe they were looking into that. We're just not quite there yet, but great points.
Good.
So are there any incentives? I mean, as far as like LEED certifications, like a platinum LEED, or is anybody, trying to bring the building to that kind of status? And are there incentives available?
As a committee, we haven't talked about LEED. As an architect, we do almost all of our buildings LEED something. And we had one client who said, just make it LEED certifiable, which means we didn't pay any money for it, but we just put in the specifications LEED items. And it's, it costs nothing. And we have bike racks and things like that would get LEED points if we decided to do it. So I don't know, I would inject the specifications with LEED-like things. I don't know if the town has stomach for things like that. You all probably know better than I do, but I haven't gotten that feeling. The interest in geothermal is to save money in the long run.
And I think there is support from capital planning that if there's an investment the town needs to make, and we can get a 75-25 contribution under a grant focused on reliability, resiliency, emergency response, whatever the buzzwords are, that 25% is it's an all go, especially if instead of paying 50% or 100%, we're only paying 25%. So again, I think if we can, as part of your effort, town hall committee, if you could, have specific, it doesn't have to be perfect, but enough to be able to have alternative dollar signs for different options so that we could then move forward. It sounds like if you went with one chosen approach, you could always add in geothermal, but I think if the starting point is gas boiler, it'd be harder for us to retrofit it afterwards.
Okay.
And the only other thing I was thinking about, and this is sort of still off the top of my head, but I know a lot of people have grabbed onto this ESG movement, right? And obviously with a new building coming to town, people are probably thinking about the energy efficiency side of things and the sustainability, and whether or not this building is going to be net zero. So whether it's adding to the overall greenhouse gas emissions or it's subtracting from it. So I don't know if there's any sort of consideration of developing a plan for the town hall specifically to become net zero at any point in time in the future, meaning by buying RECs or eventually consuming only renewable electricity. So I don't know if that would tell a good story that surrounds the development of a building like this, but maybe something else to consider.
I agree. The challenge is the existing the old building.
Is it getting flattened? Or
No,
is it
no, I mean the
being renovated?
1856 building. It's hard to bring the R value up, and you know, the old windows and things like that. The new building can be very efficient and probably not far from net zero if we wanted to do it, I'm guessing. It's just the existing building, which is a high volume, skinny walls, a lot of heat loss. That would be the challenge.
Well, the reality is we have enough proposals to be able to supply the town's needs multiple times over with renewable energy. So without even installing batteries. So from a net zero point of view, it doesn't have to be isolated to just that location. If we overbuilt on the school roofs to be able to produce enough to supply the needs of the town hall, we would get to that status. I think the first step is just trying to make the buildings as efficient as possible, so that you don't have to invest as much in the capital for the renewables. But right now, those are paying for themselves.
Yeah.
Can we make the new building officially a net zero building, at least as a target? And if we're successful, we can really blow our horn and say, wow, you know, Cohasset, new construction for the town hall is net zero.
Yeah, that was more my point, Steve, of as we go through the process of publicizing this, we already know we have the procurement in the pipeline. And so if it's just part of the process of making it net zero, it could tell a better story as well.
Totally agree.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Thank you so much for presenting to us. This is exciting.
My pleasure. So you guys keep in touch too.
Definitely.
The pressure on would be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
think
again,
the tendency is to be just the bottom line right now. That might be a little mean, but I think that's the tendency for many projects. So long-term and energy efficiency would be good to hear more voices. So.
Okay. Good.
All right.
We're all for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you. All right, great. Okay, so now we're moving on to a similar vein, Go Electric. If you recall, 2 months ago, we voted to have an exploratory committee go out and research what the town of Cohasset might do in conjunction with other towns related to a Solarize Plus program. We know the state no longer is funding a Solarize Plus program. It wasn't a lot of funding anyway. It was primarily just to cover marketing. The goal of a Solarize Plus program would be to help individual residents of the town and businesses get group discounts and other information to make it easier to invest in energy efficient types of investments. So we had a group of Steve, Pat, and Debbie who went out to explore what might be available to us, and they are now back to give us an update on what the Scoutfish have found.
All right. So, so I need to share my screen. Okay, so I have a disabled participant. Do you want to host? So do you want to enable my screen sharing?
You're all set now.
Okay.
Should be.
Huh?
You should be all set.
I don't
Really
know. Do you see it?
Not yet.
As she boots that up, when is the town hall being built? I knew
Oh,
like
no.
2%
So
about this before.
we don't know. So we are still in the schematic design phase of a new town hall. We are going to go before town meeting May 24th and ask for some funding to get to DD and CD documents. We just started putting the word out there on Facebook, so it's Town Hall Building Committee on Facebook if you want to go on and check it out. And we're going to start having some open forums to get some of these fresh ideas from everybody.
Gotcha. I thought there was a consideration of being in a different location, but they're just going to renovate the existing town hall? Is that what it was?
So what they're going to do is they're going to renovate the historic portion of the town hall and rebuild the annex that's attached to the historic portion.
Okay. I follow. Okay. You made it sound like there was going to be a different location. I was getting all excited. I heard there's a general store coming down to the end of my street too.
That is really cool, by the way. I heard that the other day.
I know. Who knew?
Which street?
We're not going to tell. No, you can't tell.
Is that Church Street? Are you talking about Church Street? Where there used to be a store?
Yeah.
Huh?
Is it Church Street?
It's Church. Well, it's Doan and Beechwood, right?
Yeah, because they're tearing down the old, it used to be a store.
That was the store?
That was.
There was a store in the, because that was the village. We were going to buy one of the houses on, all of those are zoned as mixed, commercial. You can run a business out of any of those places because it used to be the village over here.
And do you know, I mean, you probably know there was houses in much more of the village in Erin River. So there's still remnants of houses and everything. They just flooded that area.
Yeah, and the old fire station too. And Lily Sestito's doing it, right? So there's going to be like an ice cream element. There should always be an ice cream element in every neighborhood.
It's going to be amazing.
I strongly believe that.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Wait, where is it? Where? Church
Down
Street?
by the
panel.
Beechwood ball field area.
Right. But that Beechwood neighborhood, what they got, and part of it was flooded for Erin River. So
over in the wood.
Yeah. So so shall I start?
Yes, please, Debbie.
Okay, so so basically I'm going to just report back. I wanted to remind everybody of basically what we decided. This was at our November meeting, that we were supposed to go out and do research about the program. It's basically what we could do in place of a Solarized Plus, and to see, if there was any interest with some of the other towns that had gotten involved with the electrical aggregation effort. And so this would be, we were just trying to assess the interest in it and the ability to go forward. So Tanya had basically said, we'd made a motion seconded by Adam that Debbie continue gathering information, including talking with the select board in the towns of Situate and Marshfield. So I will continue about what's happened since. So so what I did was I contacted the members of the electrical aggregation committees in Marshfield and Situate to see if they would be interested. And the idea of the three towns was, as we've talked about before, it just gives us more impact, and it gives us more clout and ability to, to have better discounts and educate more people. So Pat, Steve, and I have held 3 meetings so far with some representatives from the other towns on moving forward, and we're still having the discussions. So we made a steering committee. This is sort of where we are now, thinking about what kind of how the project would look. And it would be the residents of Cohasset, Situate, and Marshfield. The idea would be it in just 2 parts: education and an incentive program to encourage people to move away from fossil fuels toward electricity powered increasingly by renewable energy. So, and that would be moving toward the governor's goal of net zero by 2050. And so to do that, we would we would educate about the benefits, technical information about, what people need to know about the various products and what the you know, the pitfalls and what to look out for. There'd be do-it-yourself information, testimonials about people who've, you know, had made conversions for solar or whatever. And then the second part would be incentivize using discounts, rebates, finding out what government programs are available. So it would be a sort of a clearinghouse for information about all things going electric in the home for residents. How we would do it is through social media. You know, the website would basically be the go-to place. That would be the repository of sort of all the information. There's going to be just what we're talking about, you know, if this goes forward, is a very strong search function, a very you know, very comprehensive website, and then we'll beef it up with social media and you know, social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram and things like that. And then, you know, just the traditional communications, the press releases, op-eds, that kind of thing. So that is basically a very simple two-pronged program.
Are there questions for Debbie? Or Debbie, is there next steps? And ask, what would you, is there more development? What do you need from us?
I've got more.
Oh, okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm not done.
Great so far.
Yeah, no. So now I want to sort of say, you know, where the different towns are in our discussions. So in Marshfield, the main representative on the committee, or the exploratory committee, whatever you want to call it, is Matt Parent. He's the Marshfield AEC chair. And he said the town is already all on board as far as he's concerned. And they're prepared to endorse the concept for 3 reasons. It helps meet the Massachusetts mandate for zero carbon emissions by 2050. It saves the residents money, which I guess the people of Marshfield are all about. And it fosters energy resiliency, which is a big thing with their, they have a big effort towards resiliency of all forms in Marshfield. So they're all on board. Situate is one of the main people there is Lisa Scanlon. I know people on, you know, have worked with her. She was one of the co-founders of the Situate Electrical Aggregation Committee. She said the Situate does not have an AEC, but does have a formal electrical aggregation committee, which actually is standing in the town. And they're looking to expand that authorization to allow sort of the Go Electric project to continue their efforts. Wait a second. Okay. Okay, sorry, I couldn't find this. So as far as Cohasset, what are the next steps in Cohasset? And the questions are, you know, what is the best way to move forward to get the town endorsement? And the reason, you know, as we said, the town endorsement gives credibility. It gives us access to hopefully town resources. And one of the question is, should the Go Electric project be a subcommittee of the AEC? The advantages of maybe thinking about it being some sort of a subcommittee and how that's structured remains to, you know, sort of to be seen and have discussion about. But the advantages, it allows oversight by the AEC. It just basically would make us answerable, and it could help fulfill the AEC's mission, which I'll discuss on the next slide. The AEC town endorsement gives credibility to to the residents and gives them a sense of assurance that, you know, that there is validity to what we're doing. And then I talked about opening up to town resources, hopefully a spot on the website, hopefully maybe on the AEC, you know, webpage, things like bill stuffers and some financial support, which would be, I would expect, a very minimal, but it would be for things like, you know, to print up mail, bill stuffers and, you know, and things like that, maybe print up some brochures and marketing materials. So it would be very minimal. So the next thing is meeting the AEC's mission. And in, you know, obviously to be a subcommittee, we have to, you know, help enhance the mission. And so there are two aspects of the mission that I think are particularly pertinent. One is the AEC's mission is investigate community-wide residential and business energy efficient and clean energy options. That's the wording. And I feel like what we're talking about could clearly fit under that umbrella. And then contribute to public awareness and education on town initiatives. And, you know, I think town initiatives of decarbonizing and energy efficiency. So I think this could enhance that. So then that sort of brings us to, whoops, you know, sort of questions and discussions and, you know, sort of guidance to me about where to go and what you're thinking, and it's my report to you.
Debbie, that is such a great report from an exploratory committee to come back and give us an update and some very clear questions that we should discuss. I open it up to discussion. Is there anybody who'd like to comment or has some ideas about the best way to proceed?
I guess I just have a question since I've been involved in this. So in terms of, should we go forward with, you know, this as part of the AEC, what would potentially be the next steps for proceeding with that? Will we go before various committees in the town? Would we talk to the select board? What would be our next steps?
Yeah, so I think if you think at this point we have enough information to go to the select board, we need to be scheduled for a quarterly report soon. And this would be an opportunity for us to give an update. Debbie could give an update to the select board on this. And I think that the ask would be permission for the Alternative Energy Committee to formally engage in this effort. And we would then establish a subcommittee as a means of doing that. And it would be a way for the Alternative Energy Committee to get involved with respect to the further development of the program, understanding what's possible, what's not possible. And we would do it through the subcommittee, who would be a liaison to the steering committee and the town. But before we could do anything formal, we would definitely have to take it to the select board and make sure that A, they would like us to dedicate resources to this effort, and B, that they are comfortable with an official town committee playing a role and what that role looks like. It could be as a liaison, it could be as a member of the steering committee, it could be as a driver.
Yeah, I know when this type of effort's been discussed in the past, the main pushback has been to make sure that the town does not appear to be promoting any particular vendors or merchants or in any other way backing a particular business, if you will, but to make sure that it is open and available to everybody to bid on type of thing. Since we wouldn't be doing a vetting process or an RFP, this would be a lot more, casual, I'll say, than some of the other things that we've done.
I think it would be, it could be as formal or as casual as we define it. I think that's what this big question mark is very fitting. I think for tonight, we just need to find out how the committee feels. Is this something that we support and want to take to the select board? And I think that really is a question that's on the table. Or is this something that the committee feels is outside of our scope, or, which I don't think it is, very clearly as laid out by Debbie, or something that we don't have time to deal with, or something we shouldn't deal with, or we can't dedicate the resources. So I think that's the question on the table tonight. And if the committee does vote to recommend proceeding to the select board, then we would raise this at our quarterly meeting and ask for permission to dedicate resources to continuing this effort and clearly define what continuing this effort means. Okay, so let me ask this, is there anybody who feels like we should not pursue this? Knowing that 3 of our 7 members are involved, and I'm sure you all supported Steve and Debbie and Pat. Would you recommend that we as a committee move forward?
I have to say that I am going to back away from it, not because I don't support it. I do support it, but just because I think Debbie and Steve can push this forward and I can help along the sidelines. So I think in terms of the involvement, we don't necessarily have to say 3, we'll say 2 1/10.
All right. Look, is there anybody, if there's nobody who's against it, I would entertain a motion to recommend to the select board that they charge the committee with moving forward to engage with the Tri-Town Steering Committee. It seems like Tri-Town, at least with respect to the way it's set up, to continue to engage with further development of the program. And then once that's further developed, we can bring it back to the select board to determine how they feel about the different aspects of the program and whether or not we can proceed. So do I have a motion to recommend to the select board that the Alternative Energy Committee be charged with participating with the existing Go Electric Steering Committee and move forward with some of the design elements of what such a program would entail?
I'd be happy to make the motion, but I don't know if it's appropriate for me to make the motion since I've been participating in it. So
you definitely can make the motion. So Pat makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'd love to hear from Adam and Tyler, any reaction to this?
I think it's great. I think it's a great program. I think we should definitely pursue it. Nice work on this.
Okay. So I will second. Is there any, so we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Thank you, Tyler. Adam, how do you feel? Do you support this?
Yeah, I support it as well.
Okay. All right. So look, I think I haven't heard any reasons not to do it. I think Debbie's laid out a very clear rationale for why this is squarely in our scope. And at a minimum, we should bring it to the select board and get confirmation that this is something we should proceed with as we do all of our initiatives. So we have a motion, we have a second. We need to roll call vote. Tanya Bodell, aye.
Gooding, aye.
Debbie Cook, aye.
Tyler Tebow, aye.
Adam Amon, aye.
Steve on?
Steve's on mute.
Steve sounds like he's at a party right now, so he probably
Steve
can't
might
go.
be at a party. So we will say it's a unanimous with one abstention or an absentee non-vote, but most certainly we have permission to proceed. So why don't we do this? So we don't lose ground. If that exploratory committee could continue to explore what such a program might look like, and we will take this to the select board at our quarterly meeting and ask for permission to put in more formal resources and define what that means. And Debbie, if you could be prepared to present for that section of our quarterly update, that would be great.
Sorry, hit my mouse here. Yep.
All right, this is fabulous. Very, very nice work to that exploratory committee. Exactly what we're looking for.
Good.
Anything else on the Go Electric, or can we move on?
Tanya, I
Okay.
think I just have one thing. Has anyone reached out to you about when you're going before the select board?
No, I sent out a request to Diane, who
Okay.
said, you know, we're in the middle of budget season, which is almost always. And I said, that's fine, but we've got a mandate to do quarterly meetings. So whenever you can put us on the agenda.
Because
And I also said we might have some warrant articles to introduce. So it'd be good to get us on sooner rather than later.
yes, so I heard today in passing that you may be on for this coming Tuesday, which doesn't give a whole lot of time to prep, but I will find out for sure tomorrow.
Okay, so let's make sure that if we are on Tuesday, we know what we're going to come before them with, but most certainly Go Electric is one of those things. I think Town Hall, we could almost go through this agenda and have something to present.
Okay.
Recommendations on allowing us to, you know, identify grant opportunities to help fund the heating systems for the Town Hall.
I can't be there, so if that's required, so maybe, you know, Steve or Pat could speak to this.
Okay. And hopefully it's not Tuesday. Hopefully it's.
I will confirm first thing in the morning. And when I heard it, I thought that's odd because I've heard nothing about this.
Well, I'm glad you're not the only, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No, you're not.
Okay, that's why we've got people in the ground. And one of them is in Arizona. So we're talking about Arizona. Let's
I was
move on to
wondering where
the
she was.
solar energy RFP update. Michelle or Brianna, do one of you want to take the lead on where we are? And then what would we like to do about the Amoresco presentation? Do we want to quickly go through that, show people what we're thinking of? What do you think?
So I did have a phone conversation with Select the other day, and they really want to pursue the school roofs. But of course, they have some hesitation. They don't want to invest any money into anything until we know if we're going to replace those roofs or not. And I gave them the most honest answer I could, which was, we don't know. We are, I believe, the last time I spoke to Sue Owen at the school, we are going to submit an SOI to the MSBA for the school roofs and some other items, but we won't know until June at the earliest, August at the latest. And they're not concerned about that because the time frame still fits within all the credits. But I also don't want to have Amoresco kind of waiting in the wings that long either. So I'm not really sure what to do about that. So any feedback you have would be wonderful.
I think it'd be helpful for Select to tell us what they've done and what more they would need to do and what they would need to get permission to proceed with. I think they most certainly, the school roofs are the easiest from an aesthetic point of view and from a cost point of view. They are the highest potential savings, so it's a no-brainer to try to pursue that. The only incremental cost the town incurs is the time value of money associated with our investment of the roofs earlier than we would otherwise do it. But there may be some benefits in the form of reduced maintenance. And I suspect that that would be supported by the school committee. I think maybe we should take it offline, Michelle, but I think there's some very clear requests we can ask them and maybe do a follow-up meeting to make it clear to them that we don't want them to lose out on this opportunity. But there's clearly more they can do than just sitting around waiting for us to figure out if we can replace the roofs.
Right. The other thing that we discussed was the water plant in the area over there. I sent them probably about 15 property cards that outline all of the land back there. So they are working on that. They did ask if we were prepared to go to town meeting to ask for permission on that. And then they spoke a little bit about the town parking lot. And I know that's something we spoke of before. I just didn't know where we wanted to take that, if that's something else we wanted to put on the town meeting warrant. Almost a few locations, water department, parking lot, wherever else. So just something to think about as well. Right.
And so I think for them to, well, sorry, go ahead, Adam. No, not Adam. I think if Select wants us to bring the water plant, for example, to the town meeting for permission to lease, we need more. We need to know how big it is, what gets cut down, who sees what. Is it part of a school parking lot, school bus parking lot? Is it just a standalone? We cut down trees, we put on ground mount, and what's the price that comes with in there for the savings? So they definitely need to do a little bit more along the lines of what they have submitted for the RFP before we would feel comfortable taking it to the town, and before the town would vote for it. I'll be honest, the town will not. That's a very sensitive area. Unless we have details about what it would look like and where it would be, we might not get the approval.
Okay.
One question I have, and I don't think I've been as involved in the procurement after we did the RFP itself and picked the winners, but obviously the municipal off-taker provided us additional benefits for the net metering, and I think there was 1.7 megawatts remaining. Those individuals who were awarded the contracts, Palmer, Amoresco, and Select, all filed for that municipal off-taker net metering and sent in an MO, and we sent an MOU, right? Where does that stand? Are they still in queue for that position, or are we losing it because it's getting dragged on? No?
They're in queue.
Okay. Is there a chance that we're going to be, someone else may take it if we don't get a PPA signed?
Not in the next 12 months. I think.
Why not?
Because there's a 12-month period. If you don't get something built within the 12 months, or if you don't make movement within the 12 months, then you can lose your position.
So we're in the prime position for the 1.7. Okay. So as long as we get a PPA signed within 12 months? Like what is the cutoff? Or obviously it's not going to be NTP or COD or anything like that. We just want to make sure we don't lose that positioning.
Correct.
Okay.
And there's an ability, they'd have to, if they need to extend it to 18 months, they can do that too. So okay. There's flexibility. I'm not concerned about the timing.
Okay.
But,
I was just wondering.
If there's a preferable site, like if there is a great site that needs to go to town for permission to lease, I'd prefer to do it in May, not in October.
Because if they were going to construct canopies, I imagine they would do it this summer when the kids aren't in school. But if we're going to wait for the school roofs, that's obviously going to be longer than 12 months, I would assume. And maybe I haven't been aware or involved, but it's a timeline that we have to be mindful of.
Well, what I heard Michelle say is by no later than August, we will know whether or not we can hasten the replacement of the roof in part and for purposes of being able to put the solar panels on.
So does that mean we build the canopies before August?
No. It means we still have to go to school committee and get the school committee's vote. on how they want to proceed.
Okay.
But we went to them before with only the option of the parking canopies. Since then, we've done additional work to realize that we could potentially bring the replacement of the roof forward. And that would be something we now need to go back to the school committee. The school committee's just been focused on other things. So we have not presented to the school committee, but we are now at a position where we may be able to present to the school committee sooner rather than later to talk about where Amoresco is with the design of the canopies. And we've received a presentation on that. And there's some alternative designs. I don't know if we want to bring those up. And then the other is looking at the possibility of the roof replacement with the solar panels.
Yeah. And what would be the expected timeline of development then?
The development, we have to get a go from the school committee and the select board before development can start.
Yeah. So there's no time. Sorry, I would just. All right, never mind. I feel like I'm asking questions and I'm getting like a vague response back. Maybe I just don't know, and maybe you don't know. But it seems like, shouldn't we try to get on the school committee's agenda to try to get approved?
So Adam, we have been, the school committee's agenda has been jam-packed with trying to get all the kids back in school. So we've been asked as a courtesy to kind of hold off on this a while until they get the kids back in school and they figure everything out, because that's their #1 priority right now.
Okay.
So we are trying to move forward. We're just trying to be mindful as well and respectful of all of their needs.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't know the reasoning.
Yeah, so
Fine.
this next week, we're having a special meeting to have a vote about getting middle and high school back. And so if that happens, then I think that we will be able to think about other things. But that's been it right now. I did kind of brief the school committee early in this calendar year when we had an update about Select and Amoresco, and there was, from the members of the school committee who were very clearly not fans of the canopies, they were thrilled about the idea of having solar panels on the roof kind of back in the conversation. Sue Owen has brought up the possibility of submitting the SOI to MSBA and just said you guys didn't have it's not open yet, right, to submit? Is that correct, Michelle? Yeah. So she's like ready to rock and wants to do that. And people, it's been, well received. It's just a matter of when it's open to be submitted, correct? So it seems to me like the general feeling, without having a vote or an official conversation, the general feeling is the roofs, like fix the roofs as quickly as we can and get solar panels up there, because, well, there'll be a new member in theory. I don't know if anyone's running. Ellen's not going to be there, but like Paul didn't like them. Craig didn't like them, and Ashley lived across the street, so she was abstaining, which to me says she doesn't like them. So this is the canopies being them. So I feel like solar panels on the roof would be very well received instead of that option.
I totally agree. And there's just been a couple of moving parts. So just to summarize, #1, school committee has been focused on trying to get the kids back to school. #2, obviously, since we issued the RFP, the ITC was extended, which gave us a little bit more flexibility with respect to the replacement timing of the roofs. And then #3, on top of that, Michelle learned that the state may consider giving us their funding sooner rather than later. So the last we had heard prior to issuing the RFPs, they were trying to push out replacement of the roofs as far as possible. Now they're looking at funding it potentially sooner, especially if there's a renewable or energy efficiency aspect to it. These are all pieces of information that have been happening. So in the meantime, we've been trying to get Select to give us their plans, and we've been trying to get Amoresco to further develop what the aesthetics look like for the canopies. And we are now, I think everything's starting to converge a little bit more. So we don't need a town meeting vote for either of those locations. And we have not lost the option to develop those locations. In fact, both of those projects are currently in the queue.
Hey, Tanya,
Yes.
would this be a good time for me to talk about my conversation with Amoresco?
Actually, can we wait, Steve, until we talk about community solar?
Okay, I'm a little bit worried my phone's gonna go dead, but
Yeah, no, we'll, let me see where we are with respect to the agenda, because I think we're going to get to that quickly. Okay, so that's where we are on the solar energy RFP update. We've just been monitoring all these moving parts, and things are starting to converge. So we now have a presentation from Amoresco. We have hopefully new information from Select, or can get information from Select so that they could also present to the school committee, maybe not on the same night, but on a separate night. And then ideally we would be in a position to at least know the timing, or have the school committee make a vote. But if we don't have full information, we can defer the vote without losing optionality. Okay, anything else on the solar energy RFP? All right, so we're still trying to get on the school committee agenda whenever we can, so that we can get a presentation from Amoresco, and then we should also think about having a presentation from Select as we get more information about the roofs. Next up, microgrid update. I think this will be quick.
Yes. I was at the meeting on, I don't know if Michelle wants to add anything, but I was at the meeting on March 4th, and they shared the draft results for mobile storage and home remodeling. So originally they had proposed a 9-month schedule, and they're currently on track about 6 months in. And upcoming, I think we can expect a more detailed cost benefit analysis, and the engineers are starting to pull together information for the sites. We're currently using only one diesel generator to meet the loads during the outages at the DPW site. But the analysis they showed us at the meeting showed that the most cost-effective option by a long shot in all of the scenarios for an outage is going to be to continue using the existing diesel generators with PV arrays. The scenarios with batteries were dramatically more costly to use for outages. And that's, I think, a lot to do with capital costs, because we don't have the batteries installed yet. And also, this was not a full cost benefit analysis, because that's going to be conducted in the next month or two. So this was just looking at costs. The benefits might actually outweigh those costs, but it was pretty dramatic looking at the figures. And yeah, they did say that a 120 kilowatt PV yields about $30,000 a year in savings if we installed 88 kilowatts at Harborview and 32 kilowatts at the police department and fire department as like rooftop solar. And they looked into the mobile storage. The storage would charge at the PV site during an outage and then drive to another portion of the microgrid to kind of offload into another site, I guess, or the DPW or public safety facilities. They're looking at utilizing 2 storage units, and we can identify the buildings outside of the DPW that we would use to serve, that we would want to be served by those 2 units. Some solutions would be mow the load, but to meet 100% of the load, we'd need like 1,100 kilowatt hour battery. But a 750 kilowatt hour battery would do 95% of the work. It would cover 95% of the time. And Brian Joyce, who was on the call, kind of said that he believes we could live with the 95%, especially for the DPW, rather than spending this tremendous.
Oops. Oh no, the sun went out in Arizona.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Hello?
Yep, you're back.
I don't know when I cut out, but basically, Brian Joyce thinks that we can live with a lower battery at like 750 kilowatt rather than spending a tremendous amount more for an 1,100 kilowatt battery, because especially for the DPW, but he was speaking more towards that and not our public safety facilities, because I don't know if that 5% is something we want to risk. So yeah, that's what I have on that update, and I think we can really start to expect a nice cost benefit analysis in the next couple of months because they're wrapping it up now.
That is great. I will also note that the Mass CEC made it clear their preference is a solar battery combination versus a gas backup generator. And we have asked for some type of cost comparison. So again, we could go to some of these grants and say, look, we'd like to go green and have the better resilience associated with the battery and the solar. However, the costs are that much higher. And so if you could give us a grant that covers the difference, we would take it. So this is definitely an input to a request for grants. And it sounds like we're making great progress. Any questions on the microgrid update? Okay. So moving on to sustainability and municipality, and I'm just cognizant of Steve about to run out of his phone juice and he needs to report out on community aggregation. Is there anything on sustainability, Pat? I know you've been busy on other things.
Mute myself here. Let Steve go ahead. We could postpone that till the next meeting. Really, it's just a discussion about where do we take this, if anywhere at all.
Okay. I do like how the sustainability discussion did come into the town hall. So I think, as you had originally noted, sustainability is not just about one initiative, it's about a pervasive way of thinking. Okay, next, what about the electric municipalization? I don't think we've done anything on this except for ask for funding for a potential study. Is that right, Michelle?
Yes, that is correct.
And I think we asked for 10,000.
I don't know where it stands, but I know we did make the ask. So.
Okay. All right. Well, if you could send me the numbers on what we've asked for the budget, I think it's fair to let the select board know we've buried some funding in the budget for us when we do our quarterly update.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions on the municipalization? Okay. Update on 2021 initiatives. This is our grab bag of other things that aren't as meaty or aren't being given as much time. So Steve, I hope your phone is still alive and we can talk about the community aggregation update and the community solar project. Steve, are you there?
He's on mute. So Steve, you're on mute.
Hi, my connection cut out for a bit there. Sorry about that. So what topic are we on now?
Community aggregation update. And
then okay, community aggregation. So you know that we had a meeting with Chris about DPU's concerns about how we present community aggregation. I'm not at all concerned myself because everything they were suggesting or what we're doing already, that is to make sure that people understand that it's they'll be automatically enrolled and they can opt out if they want to, and that the cost benefits are not guaranteed. Of course, are not. And if we don't get a good bid, then I would presume that the select board would not vote to go forward with it. So, anyways, there's no problem there. The thing is, the DPU is really dragging its feet on not just our town's plan, but for many towns' plans. And so discussing this with Chris as to what we can do to kind of prod him a little bit, he suggested that we draft a brief note to our representatives, our legislators, Patrick O'Connor and and Joan Moschino, and very politely ask if they could inquire at the DPU as to what the holdup has been. It's been now far longer than what traditionally has taken them to review these plans. And like I say, it's not just Cohasset, but there's like, with just good energy, there's like 9 towns, I believe, that are in the same situation. So anyways, I drafted a note and I sent it to Tanya and a couple other people. I think we should review it if we like it, or if we want to edit it, change it, and then show it to the select board. And I think it'd be good if we could get Chris's signature and maybe Tanya's and the chair of the select board's signatures on there, and send it off to Joan Moschino and Patrick O'Connor to ask them if they could inquire at the DPU. Maybe it'd help. I don't know. But it's a little bit frustrating, and we're all frustrated, I know. We had hoped that by now we'd be live with the irrigation program. So just looking for a way that we can maybe push it along. So I don't know, would you like me to read the draft letter I wrote?
Yes, and I think, without it in front of us,
Well, I can read it to you.
Just read it to us for concept. I don't think we should spend our time editing it. Maybe what we do is just, circulate around and see if people have other suggestions.
Okay. Sorry, I'm distracted here for a moment. Okay, I'm going to read the letter now. This is to Senator O'Connor and Representative Moschino. Hold on a second. I have to bug out for just one. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm being called to do something. I'll be with you in just one moment. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. The town of Cohasset would like to request your assistance with approval of the Cohasset Plan for Community Choice Aggregation, which has been languishing at the Department of Public Utilities for more than a year. Although we appreciate the delays created by COVID, the plan was fully supported by the town of Cohasset in accordance with the Commonwealth's program, and is key to helping the Commonwealth to achieve its net zero goals. Oh, that sounds like somebody else's editing of mine. I'll read my original letter here. Our citizens voted unanimously at town meetings in April and November 2019 to develop and present an aggregation plan to the Mass DPU for its review. Our approved energy broker, Good Energy, submitted the plan on the town's behalf in January 2020, and except for minor clarifications, there has been little movement from the DPU. The town is excited by the prospect of offering Cohasset residents inexpensive electricity that meets the state renewable portfolio standards with options for greater levels of renewable generation. The delay in the review process has delayed implementation, cost savings that could accrue to our residents, environmental improvement, and momentum. Despite the pandemic, Cohasset is trying to understand why a routine review of the standard aggregation plan, very similar to the plans approved by over 150 other Massachusetts communities, should take so long to approve. We would appreciate any suggestions you have regarding how to facilitate this seemingly administrative process. Thank you for making any inquiries that you believe to be appropriate. Anyways, I'm suggesting some such letter like that to be sent to them. I don't think it can do any harm. I know that our Good Energy representative, John O'Rourke, is a bit queasy about us doing this, I think. But in my opinion, and perhaps Chris's opinion, it might help. So how do you think we ought to proceed here?
Does anybody have any concerns with, say, Steve and Michelle and I working on the draft to send it to Chris to send along?
Tanya, my only concern is if John O'Rourke is hesitant for us to do this, we should probably find out the reason why he's hesitant for us to do this. There may be a reason. I don't know if everyone knows, but we have received several public information requests, FOIA requests regarding this project. I just want to be sensitive to what's happening, and John may have more insight than us. So while I think it's a good idea to go ahead and draft a letter, I just think we need to understand why he's hesitant, if that makes sense.
Michelle, what are the FOIA, who are they from, the FOIA requests?
There are a couple different people requesting information, and they're requesting it from every community involved in this.
Do you know? Do you know who they are? What their agenda is?
I don't know, but I think John probably has some color around it. He's been working with legal counsel on our behalf and on the other community's behalf. So once I find out more information, I'm happy to share it. I just want to be sensitive to what's happening.
Well, why don't the three of us, myself, Tanya, Michelle, get a call with John and ask him what the concerns are. If he still has any. I don't know if he still has any or not, but.
Could I just ask a quick question? I didn't understand, Michelle, your reference. What kind of a request?
It's FOIA. It's on Freedom of Information Act request. And oftentimes it could be a competitor just trying to solicit additional information. I don't know what was behind this request because he was kind enough to work with his legal team and provide us all the information that was being asked. So we didn't really have to dig into it, but I just want to understand.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Sorry, just didn't understand the acronym.
No.
I think maybe a reasonable way to proceed would be for the three of us to wordsmith this and get something that we're happy with, and then call John.
Sounds good. Maybe Tanya stepped away. I don't know.
She fell off. She's coming back in.
Okay.
She has a twin.
Yeah.
Tanya, there's two of you.
Is there? I'm back. Sorry. One of me, I thought disconnected, but maybe I'm wrong.
Which one is the evil one?
You're twinning.
The other one. So that is weird.
So can I ask, so Michelle, it with the FOIA, is that confidential or not? When somebody asks for the information, so that can be divulged who they are and why they're doing it.
You may never know why they're doing it, but
well, you could probably get some ideas if
right.
if you know who it is.
Yeah, that's kind of the benefit and the curse, right, of working for the town and doing business with the town is everything's public. So if they ask for information and they go through the right channels, you have to give them what they're asking for. So a lot of times it is just to get some competitive information. Other times there's some different agendas. So not really sure.
Yeah, I kind of wonder whether there's something going on. I mean, some lobbying by the utilities or some reason why they want the DPU to drag its feet.
That might be, we don't have any control over that. So why don't we have, as we said, Michelle and Steve and myself coordinate and talk to John and make sure we don't stumble into something that John doesn't want us to do, and have a nice enough letter to try to exert some political pressure.
Okay. Do you want to set that up, Tanya? Or you want me to set it up?
I don't interact with John, so if you can coordinate with Michelle to set it up, that would be great.
Okay. And what about our wordsmithing of the letter?
Same thing. We can do that by email. I sent you my adjustments, so you can take them as you would.
Yeah.
I didn't redline it. I just sent it.
I think that's what I just read by accident.
That's all right. You started reading it, I'm sure. All right. So why don't we do that? Steve, can you give us an update on community solar? Because I think this is a follow-on to the solar RFP.
Yeah, I apologize for breaking in when we were talking about Amoresco, but I had a conversation a couple of days ago with Jackson and their senior vice president. What's his name? His name escapes me at the moment. Anyways, so it's a very encouraging conversation because they don't really see any problem with integrating community solar with the proposals that they've submitted already. It would be a good way to provide off-takers for the excess power if we went ahead with enough projects to generate more electricity than the town needed. So it would work quite well. Now, let's see. Can you still hear me? Okay. So let's see. What do I want to say? The incentives, however, for the regular community solar projects, the traditional ones, are not very good, and they're going down as more and more people take advantage. As more and more community solar projects get developed, then the incentives are such that they decrease gradually. So they're not tremendous at the moment. However, they tell me that there is a very good program with strong incentives for low-income residents. And I told them I didn't think that Cohasset had too many people in that category, but they said that's not really a problem because you don't have to draw from just our own community, Cohasset. We can go further afield to find disadvantaged residents that would be eligible for that part of the program. And then I think they didn't seem like they were up on the details exactly how it would work, but apparently it seems like only a portion of the off-takers or the residents who would subscribe would need to fall into the category of lower income residents, and then the rest could be taken up by higher income residents. So that didn't appear to be a big obstacle. In any event, it was very encouraging. They like the idea of integrating community solar with their proposals, and I'm anticipating that they're going to include options to structure their proposals as a community solar type of endeavor fairly soon. So anyways, that's kind of where we are in that. I was very happy, and they didn't see any obstacles to doing this at all, really.
Good. And just so people know, and then I'll open it up for questions, Amoresco's business model would allow them to develop a solar project in town with half of the energy being taken by the municipality and the other half being taken by some combination of residents through community solar.
Yes. So that totally solves the problem of off-takers of the excess power, you see.
Well, it doesn't totally solve the problem. We still have to convince them to sign up. But it does use the excess energy, for sure.
Oh, also, it doesn't, there's no conflict with community irrigation also. The two programs are structured totally differently and for different purposes. For community irrigation, those who are participating with the higher levels of green energy, renewable energy in the mix, they're getting credit for being green consumers. However, on the community solar project, you're a producer, you're not a consumer. So you don't get credit for consuming green energy. You're just encouraging the production of green energy. So, philosophically, the two programs are different in that regard. But in any event, there's no reason why you can't have somebody, participate in the irrigation program and also, either have solar panels on their roof or, you know, participate in a community solar project. It's really quite a different thing.
Good. Any questions for Steve? All right. Thank you, Steve, for tracking that down. I think this is hopeful, and I think it is another item to raise with the select board about whether they would like us to continue to pursue community solar. And what we might want to consider doing is having the town be an off-taker at different locations. But it also means that we could potentially overbuild on the school roofs if the town believes that residents should be able to partake in that benefit. Okay, data initiatives. Any update on electric vehicles or other? I know we've been busy. Okay, I'm going to just keep asking and putting it on the agenda so we can keep doing these updates, because I think it's good for us to remind ourselves what we can still do. Any update on grants, green communities or other?
Yes, so we submitted our final report to Green Communities in February for all of our projects last year to receive our funding from the prior year. Yay, we did it. We got all of our funding. We're submitting this year. This year there's 2 rounds, not 2 rounds per community, but there's 2 opening periods. So one is now, so we're not applying for this one. We're applying in September, so we're not going to lose the year. We just, based on the new rules of the Green Communities grant funding, we want to make sure that we have projects that are slam dunk. Instead of putting, because what they explained to us is that they're no longer going to fund projects at 50, 60%. It's all or nothing. So we want to make sure we have the best projects put forth to make sure we get 100% funding, because now we're only getting $100,000 per year. So we had our call today with our energy expediter, and we identified the measure. I believe it's going to be EMS controls at all the schools is what we're going to work on. We did EMS for the gyms last year, and I think now we're going to tie the schools in, and it's a perfect fit, because we're going to look to replace the rooftop air handlers. And it's just a great tie-in. So I think that's the measure we've identified. We're waiting to see the cost benefit analysis come back. And if it comes back as we anticipate, I think that's where we're going to move forward.
Great. Any questions on grants for Michelle? Just keep doing what you're doing, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. Oh, and if you could also give me an update, if there is an update on how much money we've gotten on grants since our last presentation to the board. Okay, presentation technologies for upcoming meetings, and then we'll get an update on Earth Day 2021. We have the ability and interest from vendors who would like to come and present to us on technologies. There's a hydrogen project that is going to be going live this year in New Hampshire. Quasar Wave, also known as Q Hydrogen. If we'd be interested in having them come speak to us, we most certainly can do that. And there are battery vendors and others, microgrid software management companies. So I just wanted to ask people if they were interested in that. We've sort of moved into a nice pattern of having a guest speaker. They take about 20 to 30 minutes, so it does make our meetings longer, but it is, I think, part of the education of ourselves as well as the town. How do people feel about looking to have presentations? Should we try to do it monthly, every other month, every 3 months, quarterly? What are the topics you would like to see? And that's just an open table discussion, no action item at this time.
I think it's a good idea. I think to see what other technologies are out there that we can utilize in the town. So I'm open to it. Maybe not every month, maybe every other month or something like that. Either way works though.
I would agree.
I would be in favor of it. I think it's worth the extra time if other people can afford the time.
I feel like that too, and I feel like one thing that I'm really, really interested in is battery technology and what's happening in the battery field. And I think, like Brianna, you know, the Microgrid Mondays, I mean, I guess it never occurred to me that you can actually, you know, have battery storage off the grid and get rid of your generator and, you know, and just have batteries. I mean, that's something we really should be educating and working with people in the town. It kills me to see people spend $10,000 to $20,000 for a diesel battery when, you know, Dr. Schubert had a Tesla battery that he can run his house for 3 days on. That's my understanding. He said 3 days, right? So I mean, those are the kind of things as an energy committee, you know, that, and I'm hoping with the Go Electric, we can, you know, promote those things and get rid of all of these diesel powered generators.
And I just want to add, I've been getting a lot of interest from people to do technology presentations to the committee. I was talking to Brian Folds from Concord, who wants to do a presentation on April 8th on renewable energy strategies from kind of an electrify everything perspective. And he's very familiar with the electrification of bus fleets, which is why he wants to talk to us about it. And then Jeff Arredondo and Terrence Lovett from Boangeris Power, I don't know how to say it, but they want to talk to us about their multi-powered load balancer, renewable energy solution. I'm not sure what a multi-powered load balancer is, and I did a whole meeting with them. But we'd have to sign NDAs, so I don't think that would be an actual alternative energy committee meeting. But that was something. And then I also talked to Monir Azam today from Beacon Climate, who offered to set up a tour of Greentown Labs for us or to come do a presentation to the committee. So my personal recommendation, because of all the interest we're getting from people who want to come to these meetings, is that, you know, we should have guest speakers every week and allow it. Because I think we're getting, with the Microgrid Mondays, all of these people are regular attendees and they all want to talk to us about what they're doing. And I've been taking the private meetings with them, but I think it would be really valuable for the committee to kind of hear what they have to say.
I think it's great, number one, that there's so much enthusiasm and interest in speaking to our committee. I think it's fantastic. I'd say from my personal perspective, it's great to have these people and to learn. I think what would make it even more effective is if we as a committee kind of structured what the discussions are going to be. So Brianna just rattled off a bunch of things. Which of those things presentations would be most helpful for example, to the Microgrid committee or to Deborah's committee, whomever. And then maybe us just do like a 5-minute exercise of what are we trying to get out of this? Because sometimes I get all involved in what they're talking about and the technology, like the electric buses and that sort of thing. But I'm not really sure if it's something we're going to pursue or we should pursue, and where that sort of fits in the priority of everything else we're doing. So if we could think about that as a committee, how we would like to look at these things and what priority we would give them, I think it would be even more effective.
Great. Any other comments? It sounds like there's support. Anybody against having the presentations? Great. All right, so then what we'll try to do is structure our meetings going forward as we did today, with a half-hour guest presentation at the beginning, unless there's some urgent action item. But a guest presentation at the beginning, try to keep it within the 20 minutes, have 10 minutes for discussion, questions, and then we can do a 10-minute debrief among ourselves at the committee about how we felt. I thought that the post debrief following the electric bus presentation was very valuable for this committee, and so we can structure it that same way to do what Pat says, which is keep our get into the weeds and then pull ourselves back up and say, what does this mean for the town of Cohasset and for our initiatives? So we'll do that going forward. I was remiss on the microgrid update to, that was supposed to also encompass microgrid Mondays, but I ran out of space, so I took out the sub-bullet points. I would like to congratulate Brianna and Michelle and the effort that has been underway. Okay, so Brianna, on the microgrid Mondays, which have been, they've had some hiccups, but for the most part, just a resounding success. I know some of you have been attending them, but we have been recording them. Are they posted yet on our website?
I was told that they had been posted. I sent out, I didn't want to wait, so I sent out the recordings, and I figured out how to track how many people view it straight off of Zoom. But Justine said she was posting them, so I have yet to double check. I sent her emails though of adding the extra links to our site, and so they're getting posted within, hopefully by tomorrow at the latest, if they're not up right now. I think she was doing it on Monday when I had talked to her. So I just need to make sure they all got uploaded. And yeah, I'm excited that the recordings are up, and it's a good thing because these last few developers that we kind of we had them at the end of the schedule for a reason. And it's kind of hard to schedule with them. So I don't know if we're even, the event might be over and I'm not sure, which is kind of really difficult. So that's a complication we're currently facing. But everything's great with it, and it went really well, and we've been getting raving reviews from everyone, and a lot of people have been reaching out saying that they want to continue to work with Cohasset because of this. So
I think this is a success. It is just squarely in our function of education and bringing people together, and it is how these changes are going to happen, is with open communication. So congratulations again, Brianna, for the success that you've had. It's been amazing.
Thank you.
Okay. Any new, Earth Day. Earth Day. Adam, give us an update on Earth Day 2021/2022.
Yeah, so, well, it's still 2021, just not for the Soapbox Derby. So in speaking with the women who are running the Earth Day event, they have asked our team to see whether or not there's any type of initiatives that would make sense promoting at the end of April. And so I made a list, obviously, based on our agenda of all the items that we've been working on, and it probably makes sense of coordinating with them to try to promote and bring some of the positive publicity back to AEC and everything that we've done. So the focal point of Earth Day is a trash cleanup and a poster creating contest. So maybe it makes sense setting up a booth next to where people are going to be picking up their gloves and the bags to pick up trash, and maybe having some information and some pamphlets, whether it is getting people signed up for community solar, whether it is letting them know about the type of solar procurements that we've done. So maybe it makes sense having a separate call to discuss those items and getting something in coordination with Peter Pescatori and the women that have been leading the charge on Earth Day. So, and then for 2022, I think the plan is to make it a bigger event. And obviously this year is going to be restricted because of COVID policies and restrictions. So in 2022, we'll start developing a plan for potentially having the Soapbox Derby then, and then incorporating some of our vendors to come and give presentations or stand on the sidewalks and show exactly what types of technologies or products and mass save and all these different energy efficiency means that could be presented at that time. So I think this year it's maybe a smaller table, and then next year planning in advance using the full 12 months and developing a more wholesome approach.
Any comments for Adam or suggestions?
I wanted to bring up an idea for Earth Day that has gotten some traction with the 350 group that I'm in, and Brianna's been participating in this activity also. With the South Shore node of 350 has been talking about showing various environmental movies in very different venues. And so we had the idea of, well, gee, this would be an ideal Earth Day type of event. So and then I had the idea of maybe, in addition to showing it with, you have Zoom, have fixed time Zoom showings, maybe we could also do it with 143 TV. So I called Don Royne, the director of 143 TV, and he thought it was a great idea and not hard to do at all. So we just have to work out some of the details and pick our movies and get make sure we have the rights to do this and to get the links to him, and we can do it. And I guess also, was it somebody in Situate thought it was a nice idea too. So anyways, Peter Pescatori would like to talk about this at his meeting tomorrow. Unfortunately, I can't make it. I wonder if Adam or Brianna could attend that meeting, and Brianna knows what we're up to here. I hate to ask you, Brianna, to add something more to your plate, because you've been such an incredible help with all these things we've been doing. Would you be able to attend Peter's meeting tomorrow?
Yes. What do you know it is?
Let me see. He just sent an email. I thought he said it was in the morning. Let me take a look here.
Because I'm doing the mass meeting.
Yeah,
that's not what you're referring to.
10 o'clock in the morning. He has his. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. That's the.
Oh yes, I'm going to that meeting.
That's the movie group. That's the movie group meeting. Let's see. When is Peter's moving? Peter's meeting.
Could you guys
Oh,
coordinate?
he said tonight's meeting. It looks like
Yeah, sorry.
he said tonight, meaning tonight, I guess. So I guess, well, missed that.
Okay.
So why don't we do this? If you guys could coordinate offline, and then
Yeah.
Steve, if you have some specific suggestions, and Steve and Brianna, if you have specific suggestions for Adam for a way that the Alternative Energy Committee could be involved on Earth Day this year, that would be great. And then if we need to pull another meeting, just remember we have posting requirements. But if we need to pull another meeting to just focus on what our role will be in Earth Day 2021, let us know.
Oh, well, by the way, I should mention that Don was suggesting that we have a panel, presumably somebody from Alternative Energy and maybe a couple of others, to talk about one of these movies before the movie is broadcast, and that could be our involvement. You know, as a representative of the community on the Alternative Energy Committee. I mean, I'd be glad to do that. To talk about the community issues in relation to the movie. Like one of the movies is called The Human Element, and they talk about problems of flooding, and so we could mention that and so forth. So that could be the tie-in with AEC.
Okay, so I think it sounds like we don't have fully developed suggestions at this point, other than what Adam had raised. Could you three coordinate and see if there's something more detailed that you'd like us to do, or what do we want to do?
Yeah, I have some ideas for what the AEC can kind of put together, but I think instead of kind of talking about it at this meeting, myself, Adam, Steve, if anyone else is interested, I can add you to an email. We can set up a time to talk about it. And then maybe we will ask for another meeting, obviously before Earth Day, like the week before. And then we can kind of see if we can, approve something. I'm envisioning some sort of eco a virtual eco fair that is encompassing everything Adam is talking about and Steve is talking about. It's a chance to advertise our Microgrid Mondays, a chance to talk about the 350 mass movies. Maybe it could be broadcasted to 143 TV, like at the other webinars when they do the, you know, school committee meetings and things like that, that gets broadcasted on TV. So, and a virtual eco fair could be a good opportunity. We get some experts to talk on it. Tanya, we had talked about this before. So if anyone's interested in being on that list, please speak now or email me. And then maybe tonight or tomorrow, I'll send out an email and we can try to coordinate a meeting.
I'm happy to contribute my industry contacts, as I'm sure Adam and Tyler are as well. Let's do this. Our next meeting would normally be scheduled on April 8th, the second Thursday. So why don't we keep that if you think that's enough time to bring a more fully baked proposal to the Alternative Energy Committee, or if you want to do it the week before, we can do an interim meeting for just that topic. Because this is more, it sounds like there's going to be more discussion, more brainstorming, more volunteering, more.
So keep in mind that the prime movers here have been the 350 group. And I'm sure that regardless of whether AEC decides to go in on it, the 350 people are going to do it anyways. So it's just a matter of whether we get a little bit of mileage out of it. I'm sorry, Brianna, did you say you'd be able to meet Turner Bledsoe's meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, I'm going to be at that meeting.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to interject.
That's okay.
Okay, so let us know if you need us to call a meeting for the first. Otherwise, we will plan on having suggestions, and just keep in mind, do we need to get permission from the select board, or is there something we want to ask the select board for permission to do for Earth Day? Because if we're going to be presenting to them, we should get that on the roll sooner rather than later.
I think a meeting on the April 1st would be good, because if we're reaching out to other people and asking them to present at this event, we're going to need more than maybe 2 weeks. Maybe the 3-week span will work better. So I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to need the April 1st meeting.
Okay. We could also do the last Thursday in March. Just why don't you send me once you all meet, let me know when you would like to do a meeting. We'll keep it on a Thursday. And then we'll just, I know some people can't make all the Thursdays, but we'll just put it out there and hopefully get a quorum and focus one meeting specifically on Earth Day. And then our April 8th meeting will be the panoply that we normally have.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Anything else on Earth Day? And Adam, we're holding you to the Derby for next year, because I love that idea.
Yeah, we'll detail a more, I don't know, a better plan than what we had this year.
A roadmap. But we had COVID. We had all sorts of complications. So
yeah.
One
thing I really want to quickly mention as well, I should have mentioned it about those new technologies that everyone was mentioning before. Since the last meeting that we had, Vineyard Wind has gotten the necessary approvals to move forward to develop their offshore wind project that's going to be interconnected into Cape Cod. One thing that we as a town could even consider, and that project is not backed by any of the utilities. A lot of the other projects that are being built, there's a joint partnership with Eversource or National Grid. This one is developed by Avangrid and CIP. And so we could even consider asking them if there was an offtake opportunity for the 800 megawatts. Obviously, we would just be a small piece of it. That could always be something that we could consider, and it would be a landmark project. It's offshore wind. We're a coastal town. There could be a lot of synergies there.
But Adam, isn't it true that even though one of the partners is not a utility, the utilities are the off-takers for the power under the chapter 30D?
I don't think fully. We can look into this. I think depending on the projects and where they're physically getting interconnected to, obviously they're not going to be able to take down all of the electricity that's going to be built offshore. So I think this one actually is a unique one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
we can talk
let's
about
find out. It's interesting for sure. Okay. Anything else on Earth Day before we just go to new business? All right, new business. Is there any new business? Adam, you've already sort of raised it with respect to Vineyard Wind. Thanks for giving us an update on that. That had been delayed because of the Trump administration.
Yeah.
Boom. So it's good to know things are back, moving along. Any other new business?
I have one thing actually. So Cohasset has been invited to participate in a Tufts study about how municipalities develop and implement climate projects. I have a call set up next week with someone to kind of talk about it, but I'm just curious if you all think that's something of interest for us.
Why not, man? Showcase our effectiveness. We could be a case study for public policy schools around the world.
Okay, I just wanted to throw it out there and let you all know. We'll see. I'm going to find out more about the study, but I had a preliminary call this morning and it seems very interesting. So,
excellent. We are public policy making movement 101. So no, look, I think it's great that we're being recognized, and it just success begets success. So this is great, and I want to commend everyone again. Of course, Michelle and Brianna and Lydia, our school committee representatives, and Adam and Tyler and Mike and Pat and Debbie and Steve and just the other Steve and the other Steve. We have a lot of Steves here. Just everybody who contributes. I say this every time, and I will say it again. I receive at least one compliment in between our meetings every single time from people saying your committee is so active, so effective, and every single person on that committee pulls their weight. And that is rare in municipal committees. But I am so pleased and proud to be a part of this committee where everybody pulls their weight. And I think it's just clear during our meetings when you all report out and are so effective. So thank you for all your hard work and your passion and the effectiveness and the successes that we are having in the ecosystem that we're creating. I think it is good for our community and great for the environment. That's it for me. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Pat. Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Too late. Tyler already seconded, Steve. Tyler seconded. Tyler, welcome. Okay, we don't have to take a roll call vote. We'll say all in favor. Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? All right. Bye. We are now adjourned officially.
All righty. Bye-bye, everybody.
thank
Bye.
you.